Hey, what's going on, guys? J-Mac here. I want to make a quick update video for the Speed Fetish build. Now, the majority of you that are watching this have probably seen the initial video that I made for the build. That was on the day of the patch, right when Loot 2.0 hit. And I said in that video it was a pretty preliminary build, and I needed a few days to kind of fine-tune some things and see exactly what was good and what wasn't. We ran something pretty similar in the beta quite a bit. A lot of the witch doctors did, but in the beta you couldn't get your attacks per second up near as high, not to mention you didn't have lifesteal either. So I kind of needed to see exactly how things were going to function with extremely high attacks per second and lifesteal, and then kind of build around that. So I want to put out another video real quick just to show you exactly the way the build is morphed. I think it's way better now. I think it's I'm clearing way quicker. I think I was doing Torment 3 in the first video. We're doing Torment 4 now. And I think I've only gotten 2 upgrades since that video as far as my gear goes. So let's go ahead and show you exactly what's going on. I'll go ahead and go over the old stuff too, just for anybody that's new to the build, new to the channel, and hasn't seen the first video. So the basic premise of the build is you want to stack as many attacks per second as possible with Vampire Bats. Vampire Bats has an initial mana cost and then no channeling cost. And then basically the more ticks that you get from Fire Bats, the more fetish sycophants you're going to the more fetishes you're going to have a chance to summon per second. I'll go over that more here in a minute as far as how the breakpoints work and with Fire Bats and all that good stuff. So not much mana cost here. We're running Firebomb Pyrogeist. It's good single target, which means that's his signature spell, which means we're not really using much mana whatsoever as far as our damaging abilities. So Pierce the Veil is kind of a perfect fit. We're also going to run Grave Injustice for a third passive. Now this can be a lot of different things. I like it personally because we're running 3 cooldowns at this point. But if you were to change this build up a little bit, potentially Grave Injustice could be some other things. You could go Jungle Fortitude if you're trying to do higher torment levels, get you 15% reduction across the board. You can go Gruesome Feast. Now obviously the 10% to your maximum mana in this particular build is going to be irrelevant, but you know, if you've got say 8 to 10 pickup radius, you're probably going to have 2 to 4 health globes the majority of the time, 2 to 4 stacks from health globes the majority of the time, which you know, 20 to 40% extra intelligence is not a joke. You know, that's extra damage, that's extra all resist, extra toughness, all that good stuff. Now as far as the rest of the abilities go, still running Big Bad Voodoo, Slam Dance, Spirit Walk, Jaunt. I think those are pretty self-explanatory. You could potentially run Healing Journey here, or even Ghost Trance here, I suppose, if you're trying to do higher torments. But like this particular setup with my gear, which I don't have very high toughness, I can do Torment 6 in a group pretty easily. Now you're gonna die here and there, but you know, that's just Torment 6. That's just how it is. With some minor tweaking, I think you can do Torment 6 quite easily, actually. But for this particular video, we'll be farming Torment 4, just because it's the most efficient for me at the moment. I can clear it very quickly and pretty minimal risk of dying for the most part. So the main 2 things we've changed, we're running Soul Harvest Vengeful Spirit now instead of, I think I was running the Lifelink Zombie Dogs before. Now again, if you don't have high toughness and you're afraid of dying, you can always run the Lifelink Zombie Dogs or the Zombie Dogs that you take 10% less damage from. Both of those are fine. I kind of decided that the best way to go about the build is to, at the beginning of when you're starting to farm, for the first 5 to 10 seconds, just sit there channeling your Fire Bats, and then get out like 5 to 8 fetishes, and then go in. Because really, Zombie Dogs and the Gargantuan Rune I was running before, it was pretty much, they were kind of like the first line of defense. They would go in and make sure that the mobs stayed off of me while I was able to channel my Fire Bats and get this fetish army built up. But once I had 10 fetishes out, they were kind of irrelevant for the most part, because their damage really isn't that good. But as far as Vengeful Spirit goes, I mean, it's a AoE nuke. With Grave Injustice, it's off a cooldown quite often, but it's also with Lifesteal, it's a heal, it's an instant heal, so it's almost like an, you know, oh shit button, pretty much, you know, along with Spirit Walk, which is nice. So I like that a lot, not to mention the fact, I mean, you know, it's 10% extra intelligence. So you again, same principle as Gruesome Feast. You're getting a ton of damage out of it. You're getting a ton of all resist, which translates into toughness. So I think it's pretty good. And I mean, you're at 5 stacks all the time if you play it properly. So I think this ends up being better, and honestly probably ends up being a little bit better overall for survivability than the dogs were anyways. And then as far as Gargantuan, we switched to Wrathful Protector. It's the cooldown one. Again, I found I didn't need a Gargantuan all the time if I play it properly with my fetishes, but I do like having one out on Elite and Champion packs just to be on the safe side, and it does a ton of damage. This thing hits like a truck, man, and it's it's pretty much going to be up every time you fight an Elite or Champion or boss. So I like that quite a bit. Now, as far as the build goes, the things that in my opinion you have to run are Vampire Bats, Fetish Sycophants, Spirit Walk, and Big Bad Voodoo. You don't have to run Pierce the Veil, although I don't see why you wouldn't run it. I mean, 20% damage increase across the board in a build like this, it's very close to being mandatory. And Grave Injustice, like I said, can be a few different things. And then these two abilities, you don't have to run either of these. You can definitely swap those out for something else. Even Pyrogeist could potentially be something else. But again, just be wary of using anything that costs mana, because you may end up having mana issues potentially running Pierce the Veil. But if you guys find some kind of combination as far as builds go that are better than these two, by all means let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. Wrathful Protector, when I'm running in a group, it often gets changed to Paranoia, the Mass Confusion rune, for 20% more damage to my group, or for my group. So just play around with things, see what you guys like. But those other abilities I think are mandatory. Now, as far as the way Fire Bats works with attacks per second, so currently we are at 2.74 attacks per second. Now, there's very specific breakpoints for Fire Bats as far as attack speed and how many ticks your Fire Bats do each second. So at 2.72 attacks per second, your Fire Bats is going to tick 6 times per second. Basically what that means is, with the Fetish Sycophant's ability, each second you're going to have 6 chances to summon a fetish. Now, I believe the next breakpoint is like 3.0001 or something like that, and it goes up like half of a tick, I believe, something along those lines. So I think the 2.72 breakpoint is the one you really want to shoot for from my testing thus far. Having 6 chances per second while you're channeling Fire Bats to summon a fetish is pretty nuts. You have a ton out all the time that way. I'm going to put out a video here pretty soon explaining all of the breakpoint stuff a little bit more in depth for people. I've had a few people come into the stream lately kind of not really understanding how all that works out, or at the very least if they understand how it works, they don't know the exact breakpoints and that kind of stuff. So that's how that works. As far as Paragon goes, we're running I've got 24% movement speed on my gear with Enda's Pants and Boots. We got 1% movement speed here, and the rest into Intelligence. We've got attack speed at 6, crit chance at 2 here. Now again, you may need more attack speed in your Paragon points to get you up over that 2.72 breakpoint. But, maybe you don't. It just depends. This is how my Paragon is working out for me currently. Now again, also, just because I'm saying to shoot for 2.72 attacks per second doesn't mean that you can't run the build with less than that. I've seen people running it with 2 attacks per second, and they're saying, man, J-Mac, this build is awesome, it's working out so well for me, so, that's what I would shoot for. I think it's going to be the best for you, but you don't have to be there. As far as defense goes, I need all resist personally. I think if you have a lot of vitality, if you have a lot of life, life percentage is probably the most efficient way to spend your points. But, it depends on what you need. If I didn't have this all resist, I'd be at 500 all res. So I need the all res for my Paragon points currently. And then we got life on hit over here. This is something I'm still testing out a little bit. The majority of the time I've been running area damage. Because obviously you don't need resource cost reduction. Gold fine's kind of irrelevant, to be honest. So I've been trying out the life on hit just to see if it makes any kind of difference whatsoever with the build I'm running at the moment. I mean, I'm not running the life on hit zombie dogs anymore, so it's probably not as good. I would probably suggest running area damage, but I've been trying this out. I think it's probably pretty close, to be honest. That last one's a little bit of a toss-up. So as far as damage, we're at 318k unbuffed. We are just under 600k toughness, which is a little bit low, but again, we're running Torment 4, so it's not that big of a deal. Then as far as gear goes, I picked up a 7 Sins, and I crafted these bracers. Fire skills deal 10% more damage, 6 crit, pickup radius, over 300 int, over 200 vitality. These are the only 2 pieces of These are the only two pieces of Loot 2.0 gear that I have. This thing's just really high int, high vitality. The rest of it is still legacy stuff. I did get a new sword, which is pretty nice. It's a nice sword. One of the big changes that I made, though, is I changed to a ruby in the weapon opposed to an emerald. Now, I think there's an argument to be made for both of those. I think that your overall consistent damage is way better with the ruby, especially with how many pets you have out. I think the ruby is really good for pet builds like this. With that said, I do like the emerald at times, especially with almost 3% lifesteal, because like the crits are nice for healing. Getting spike damage means you're getting spike healing more often, which I do like. But I think this is better overall. Now, when you put a ruby into your weapon, you're probably going to see a decrease in sheet damage, but overall, your actual damage in game is going to be higher. From what I've seen so far, I mean, I think they're pretty close. Actually, I think it's closer than it looks. Because I think, like, overall, like as far as kill speed, I think I'm killing faster with a ruby in my weapon. But I would consider for higher difficulties running an emerald for a little bit more like burst healing here and there, especially with stuff like when you're running Soul Harvest, that extra crit damage. It's a lot more healing. So that's what we're running currently. Let's go ahead and jump into it real quick, just to kind of show you exactly what's going on with it. I'm really enjoying the build. It's been really fun to play. I think I've ran it on stream the last 4 days in a row now, and it seems like everybody's really liking it, man, having a good time playing it and all that good stuff. Like I said, there's been people that have came into the channel and tried it with 2 attacks per second, and they're telling me they're having a blast with it. It's still working out really well. Obviously they don't have as many fetishes out at any given time, but they still have enough out to make it work, which is cool, man. I'm glad to hear that even with lower gear sets, it can still work for people. Because I mean, you can gear it too. You can gear it properly. We're gonna sit here and channel. You just get a few fetishes out real quick, like I was saying earlier. You can gear it too, where you just have like really high attack speed. Like you don't have to have 300k unbuffed damage like I do. Because I mean, you don't have to run Torment 4 or 5 or whatever. You can go run, Torment 1 with the build, man. But as you can see, I mean, it's pretty much just wrecking white mobs at this point. Have no issue, kind of just blunders through them. Which again, in the first video, we were doing Torment 3, I believe, and I don't think we were killing this fast on Torment 3. So I think the changes that I've made are big upgrades. Now, when you have this many fetishes out, it's Electrified can be a little bit sketchy. When an electrified mob's getting hit by 9 fetishes and you're channeling vampire bats on them, that's a lot of electrified coming out of that mob. But I mean, as you can see, that pack died in what, 10-15 seconds. I think it died before Wrathful Protector was over. So pretty darn quick, man. And again, if I get some more Loot 2.0 gear, which I would say I'm not going to upgrade every single piece that I have with Loot 2.0 gear. That's just not going to happen. Especially things like, I doubt I'll upgrade the Mempo before the expansion comes out. And I probably won't upgrade the weapon either. I seriously doubt it. But there's probably still 5 to 6 slots that I could upgrade with new gear. Particularly rings and amulets. There's some rings and amulets out there that would be absolutely crazy for this build. What I would really like to have is a fire damage, attack speed, crit chance amulet would be very good, with some kind of nice legendary fix on it. Now that demon with the fire chains, that's just on my enchantress currently, which we can talk about that a little bit. So the enchantress gives you a little bit of attack speed. She also has some nice CC abilities, and she also gives you armor, which is definitely not irrelevant by any means. as far as your, if you're solo farming, as far as your follower, I don't think it matters too much. You know, you kind of just need to figure out what you need. Like, I wouldn't run a Templar just because the Templar's biggest strength is that he gives you mana regeneration, and you just don't need that in this build. So I would go Scoundrel or Enchantress if I were you. And at that point, it really depends on what you're looking for. Because the Scoundrel can give you some crit chance if you need it, and the Enchantress can give you some attack speed. I think she's better overall, though, because she also gives you an armor buff. So we can find one more Elite Champion pack here real quick before we end the video. So again, this is Tournament 4. Pretty much just blundering through all the mobs, man. It's pretty great. And the kill speed on Tournament 5 is actually pretty darn fast too. The biggest issue I run into with Tournament 5 is you start to just the different affixes on mobs start to become very insane in Tournament 5. The amount of damage that they do, you gotta be really careful. Things like Thunderstorm, or like even this Orbital right here. Especially a lot of the lightning damage. I mean, look at that, man. This guy's out for 15 seconds. He was out probably 4 seconds after we killed that pack. So a little over 10 seconds to kill that pack with the Big Bad Voodoo down. Very fast. Very efficient. But as I was saying, you know, some of the effects are just crazy. Like Thunderstorm, for one, is just disgusting on Tournament 5. You know, they put a Thunderstorm above your head, and if you don't have the reflexes to move almost right away, you're probably gonna die without really nice toughness. So you got to be careful. And currently, I just don't have the toughness for it. Higher toughness, though, absolutely. Tournament 5 is very possible to farm pretty efficiently. Now, to farm Tournament 6 efficiently, you're gonna need some pretty nice gear. But I think it's doable. I absolutely think it's doable. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I mean, we killed a couple elite packs, killed some white mobs, just to kind of show you what's going on. Even that second elite pack, or that champion pack right there, that was a pretty nasty pack. And, you know, 11 seconds to kill something on Tournament 4, it's pretty darn quick, especially when you got a bunch of meat shields going on with the fetishes. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. You got any questions? I stream on Twitch. You can see my Twitch. There should be a link to my Twitch address on my YouTube here. I stream every single day on Twitch, so if you guys have any questions that you need answered right away, you can always come see me on Twitch. If not, just leave a comment. I can get to you later. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.